Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ is Lord.
Hello and welcome in to another episode of Offensively Accurate, hosted by yours truly. And sorry, I have a bit of a brain fog. I'm feeling like dog water lately, but I appreciate everybody being here. Glad to see everybody. Lord of the Ree, Smelly Balls, Christ is Lord. Some of you guys also, anticipated, and Rise of the Rights. I see you guys in here. I think you're some new faces. Appreciate everybody for being here. We have a good bit to get into. And the overwhelming element of everything we're going to be talking about is the divide between the youth and the elderly, or quite frankly, the boomers. I do appreciate everybody. Sia Jackson and Jason, appreciate you guys. This is kind of an extension from where I was at on Sunday on the Nat Founders Show with a debate with a boomer that has since been clipped and has been put up on the NAV channel. And there's been a good bit of that that's kind of floated around. And it's cool because it's getting good play on the NAV channel, which I'm going to shill again. If you've not subscribed to the New American Vision, definitely do so. It is our goal to compete with the Daily Wire. And not even compete, it's our goal to dethrone, humiliate, shame, and excise the Daily Wire back to Israel where they belong. That's actually that's my goal. I don't know if the other guys would say the same, but that's kind of my goal. So, but we're going to roll with it. Another thing is absolutely F. Good Morning Britain. I'm in the middle of a copyright dispute over one of my, not the video I put out today, but the one before that, over the stupid 40-second clip I have of the veteran in there. So I'm going to have to look up that. I don't know if there's differences between international lines or free and fair use. I'm going to have to figure that out as well. Marble, nice to see you in here. Cindy and Richard as well. Appreciate seeing you guys. But yeah, F Good Morning Britain. And we have a couple cool things going on. Now, one thing I kind of hesitated to cover because I was hoping there'd be more of a response, and then ultimately there wasn't, was Matt Walsh. And so I waited a bit, got nothing over the weekend, and then there was nothing this morning, and then I watched his recent episode, and there's just nothing there. So maybe he responds today, who knows? But for those who didn't watch the video or don't know what's going on, basically Sneako and Matt Walsh got into it over Matt Walsh's allegiance to Israel. And it was stemming from their disagreement over why and how did Zoran Mamdani get elected. Matt Walsh basically pushing out there that it's just a bunch of Islamists and it's a bunch of foreigners and they're voting for their tribalistic foreign ties. Which I do, let me tell you this, I do think there is an element of that plays into it, but I don't think it's the primary or even the secondary element to that. Sneako pushes back. He says, nope, it was all because of Israel. Same thing that you would see from Evan Kilgore and myself. I would actually wager it's 80% or more of the reason why Zoran Mamdani actually even got pushed out into the national sphere was the clip that went viral from him being absolutely henpecked on, I think it was during a Democratic primary, but I'm not sure what network it was being held on, where he's the only one who says he's not going to go to Israel. And then the moment he does, you can hear a pin drop in the room. Ding. Explain yourself. And he does, and he gives a great answer. He says, actually, I'm going to stay in the boroughs. I'm going to stay here in New York City where the people need me, where my constituents are. And man, they did not love that. So Sneako and Matt Walsh get into an argument over this. It gets very, very effeminate very quickly. And ultimately, I will say this. I do think Sneako is retarded, but I do appreciate his humor. And I think I would have a friendly interaction with the guy if I ever met him. I do think, though, he's nowhere close to an intellectual powerhouse of what Nick Fuentes is. And so you do kind of get an emotional response from Sneako, where he basically says, F you, Matt Walsh. You You are clearly operating under these guidelines. Your master is Ben Shapiro. We know that you can't take these debates on without asking for permission, and so it's just not going to happen. And Sneako did make a good point, which is, if he is a retard, why would Matt Walsh not take him up on this offer? Why wouldn't Matt Walsh not take an easy home run, right? Oh, right over there in the center field. It's because he can't. Because he's not allowed to. And Matt Walsh kind of puts up this very, very pathetic argument, which is like, I'm not gonna have a debate over a position I don't even hold. And it's like, that wasn't what it, forgive me, that wasn't what the original kind of argument here was. No. Actually, no. Overall, that was something, and it's kind of a reignition of a Sneako and Matt Walsh beef that happened about like a few months ago, where they went back and forth with each other. Sneako was less expressive then, but he was in the middle of doing like his Subway New York takes, where he like interviews random Jews who walk on the subway station, which just seems to be all the people that are down there. And he gives kind of like just like a minute response to Matt Walsh, dismisses it, nothing came of it, and then now it picked back up again. And you have the funniest thing about it was the meme that Sneako had made, which depicted Matt Walsh as Kaya, so Hassan Piker's dog. And so it's Ben Shapiro holding the remote for the shot collar, and Matt Walsh is behind him on the laying in the hammock or whatever that they know, whatever prison Hassan puts his dog in. And I thought that was actually hilarious. It got real though when Nick responded with, literally just like a 4-minute clip, and it wasn't much of it wasn't like a featured story. He didn't spend much time on it, but the 4-minute clip was like really all that you needed. And I went over that earlier in the video, but it was the best takeaway from that was this comparison. And he did it with Kevin Roberts, and he did it again with Matt Walsh. And that comparison is, when we look at you, right, Matt Walsh being a father figure to a lot of kids who probably like even in TPUSA, right? If you're, I say father figure loosely, but looking up to an older man as him as being like, he's at least a generation ahead. He's got resources and assets. He's married. He's got children. He's like a few steps ahead. Same thing with Kevin Roberts, although Kevin Roberts, I would imagine, is older than Walsh. But Nick puts it pretty clearly, which is, you are a cuck. What would your son think? If I was your son, I would be ashamed. And I thought that was probably the best way to frame that, because that is actually the way that I would imagine most of you guys view it as well too, which is, it's predictable how pathetic some of these older men are. Like, happy wife, happy life. There's all these kind of like throwaway lines, all these kind of very depressing quips they have to like, just, acquiesce, that's not even the right word, to, I guess, make themselves feel better about the misery and the miserable situations they're in. And there's kind of two archetypes of it, right? You end up getting like the wife guys who are, they can be very, very miserable to deal with. There's some that are decent. I'll give them that. And then you have the Dave Portnoy types. And the Dave Portnoy types are the most disgusting types of men on this planet. And this is something that even Alex Jones made a clip about. I'm sure many of you even remember this, right? Talking about watching football on Sunday. I wish I had it. I pulled it up right now. I love that clip. But the point being there is you do have a big kind of like grouping of guys that all act the same. And Dave Portnoy is kind of like the face of that brand of man, which is fat, lazy, like disheveled, bum looking. When you see Matt Walsh, even in this video from the Mississippi State, he like turns around and he's like this big frump. It's like, dude, you belong in like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Like, what is that body shape? Anyways, there are these kind of two distinct types of guys, and they seem to be the ones that we get the most flack from. They are the ones that are most likely to vocalize themselves in boomers. And we're just tired of it. We're tired of that example being given to us and seeing that is how the typical guy kind of acts. And when we recognize it and we point to it and we say, hey, listen, in a broader, more zoomed out sense, it was that kind of escapism, that kind of saying, essentially saying that there's nothing you can do. And I've even gotten this, and I'm not even going to hesitate to name him, but I'll just say, like my wife's father, and it's not just him, but there's people that are like that, where they say, well, can't we just all get along, right? Like, why is it such a big deal? You can't really change anything anyways. Just focus on being happy, right? It's all of this push here to like, just forget about what's going on, close your eyes, close your ears, and just, because there's nothing you can do about it. And that's like where the contention is. The contention is that we're not just going to accept it. We're not going to accept the fact that you guys chose to escape from everything via alcohol and drugs and divorce settlements and, in cruise lines. We're saying no to that. We don't want to inherit that system. We don't want to continue the cycle. We don't want to pass it on to the next one. I don't want to do that to my son. And we've seen what it done to the generations ahead of us. And I would imagine a lot of you, if your parents weren't divorced themselves, you probably had friends where their parents were divorced. And you saw like the way that breakup of family was a clear and obvious kind of fracturing of their basic kind of normative lifestyle. And we're just done with that, you know, and we're going to explore a bit of this article from Chuck Mason, but to move away from the Matt Walsh element, obviously those are kind of the bigger faces. They're like the mainstream elements of this. You know, Chuck Mason is a writer for the American Thinker, or a regular contributor if he doesn't work there. And forgive me, Chuck, because I should have had that memorized. I got into it with Chuck on the Sunday show, and a lot of it was on these similar lines. And I think the funniest part was in the Discord, a lot of the guys from the mods and the Inside Council, there's like the Nick moment where they're like, I'm going to crash out, I'm not going to lie. Because it's missing the mark so badly that you just kind of like, you get this flurry of emotions and you just kind of like ignite. You're like, you know, but he's going on, he's saying like, just repeat the line. He's saying all of the typical stuff we're used to saying that we know is either based on a false premise or is parroted language or is not even nuanced to a certain degree. And the overwhelming element of it is this kind of, we are not going to adopt the mythos of the World War II narrative, right? Like we're not, the boomers can keep it. You guys can keep it. And we honestly, we hope it honestly dies with you too. We don't want the mythos of our nation to be defined by that element that's so far removed from the founding. And obviously it's got its uses, right? It's got its uses as a cudgel. And there was a good comment. I wish I would have got the username from the individual, but there was a good comment that said, the reason why we have to expose that, you know, what it's used for, right? What this humiliation ritual is used for as a cudgel against nationalism, against Christianity. We have to have these conversations so we can outline the reasons why it was used as a cudgel. But again, the broader point I had made there to Chuck, which kind of sucks because there were some things I would have liked to have said. Ultimately, I'm a bit more reserved there than I am here because I don't want to jeopardize the entire channel for the other four guys. And so I would feel bad if I was the reason why something got bopped. But it is like, I can't even fully explain positions. I can't even give you a full, robust, comprehensive, like kind of worldview of what my opinion on that is, because half of what I would like to say or point to, like, may entirely nuke everybody here. And that was kind of the point of saying the comment to, my hands are tied behind my back. It's like, it's kind of hard to give a full blown position here, but maybe we should move stuff off the Rumble. But we got an article from Chuck Mason, and that's what I wanted to look at here. And so I'm not gonna blast your guys' eyeballs with it. Because, like, dude, I don't know what white point they use on this, but man, this article, you can just see the way it lit up my face. Like, I'm about to go put on sunglasses right now, and I turned the backlight down on this monitor. It's crazy, actually. But we're going to cover a bit of this article, and so this is from the American Thinker, and you can find it. It was from November 11th. I think it's today, right? Old man. Well, I shouldn't say that because I'm fighting against boomers. But this is the article, and it's from today. There's an anti-left storm brewing on the right, and it's ominous. And no joke, that feels like this was written by a leftist. Now, I will say this, the article ends decently, but we're going to go through a couple of these pieces here. This is how it starts. There's an anti-left storm brewing among the once conservative libertarian Generation Z, which follows a predictable and dangerous path that's left a trail of destruction throughout history. It came to light in the split between Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson last week, over Carlson's platforming of Nick Fuentes, wait for it, the virulent, anti-Semitic, pro-Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler adoring, Holocaust-denying influencer. Chuck. Come on, man. It's a little unnecessary, dude. I thought we talked this out the other day, man. How many times I got to teach you this lesson, old man, right? It's a SpongeBob meme. No, I'm messing Chuck. And in all fairness, I do love Chuck. I appreciate that he's willing to engage. We need this. We need to, push out this. But he continues. Nick, who has become the heroic voice of Gen Z's heterosexual white Christian men who have been devastated the hardest by America's decline. Shapiro called Carlson out for giving Fuentes an uncontested platform, leading to a bitter parting between two friends who had fought to preserve a conservative America. I would imagine everybody here has watched the interview. And if you did, you know that Tucker pushed back. Now, was it Ted Cruz level of like clip farming and, getting some of this pushed out? No. But he definitely was like not accepting and agreeing with Nick's positions. He was pushing back multiple times, right? Judging people on their by individuality, right? Bringing up other Christian points, and even saying like, okay, maybe we'll put a stop in here. And he goes on. Now this is how you do it, Boomer. The breakup of a bromance between alternative conservative media heavyweights made headlines. What bromance did Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro have? I mean, like, this is the boomer who, like, he's he's over here somewhere, man. Like, if I just think it is, so it be. But it's funny. And so he kind of goes on here. And so this is the one that kind of really was irritating to me. So let me go down to this line here. He writes, Gen Z is mad as hell and turning their anger to the usual cast of scapegoats. Jews, women, immigrants, minorities, boomers, and government conspiracies. And then he writes, we've seen this play before and we know the results. Scapegoats? What I don't appreciate, and I find this to be like, this isn't even disingenuous. This is just shitty to do, is to treat our positions that we are willing to defend. We are sitting here saying like, talk to us. Well, let's have this. Let's hash this out. And then say that everything we're pointing to as a problem is like a scapegoat. This is no different than when you see this language from like Tomi Lahren when she's like, men just need to do more. Women should do whatever the hell they want, and men just need to keep doing more. What an empty message. And what a way to say that like every single one of those elements has nothing to blame, like they don't pitch whatsoever at all. Like, and so he goes on, Gen Z is waking up to the reality that they're inheriting the overwhelming problems of a debilitated America that they didn't create and can't solve by relying on traditional conservative politics. Now, that part is true, and especially if you mean traditional conservative politics, what's the word? I guess what definition of tradition are we using here, right? And so it continues, they're suffering consequences created by generations of baby boomer and Gen X politicos who wrecked their shot at the American dream by sacrificing their future for short-term political wins years after they were born. Here's what they face. And so he goes in and he outlines all the things. Now, he did actually talk pretty decently about the Social Security element, right? And the kind of heading towards insolvency and not having that stuff. That much I agree with. I appreciate that. And then he continues, their blood boils as they watch feminism smash masculinity and illegals receive housing, healthcare, and every benefit under the sun that they can't afford. A small, nondescript Jewish nation in the Middle East gets copious amounts of foreign aid and disproportionate consideration in foreign policy, as Gen Z shoulders the constant anxiety of American involvement in foreign conflicts that squanders blood and treasure but doesn't serve America's interests. But as he continues throughout this article, that's kind of really the gist of it, is he's willing to at least put up somewhat of, what's the word? He's at least tabling the fact that there's reasons why there are credible reasons why we're mad, but it seems to be this unwillingness to accept the ones that we tell them that we say are the problems. And it's this nonstop going back and forth where they say, no, we're not even going to hear you out on this. And here's what I think. Do you think anyone's going to listen to you when you continually keep false premising? You come in with this loaded statement that either deletes or comes with a false premise that we can't accept. And so we have to keep going back and going, no. What you said in that statement there, like, we have to revisit because I'm unwilling to move forward because I don't actually accept that part of the conversation or that part of what you're putting forward. And I would encourage people to read through this. It was a bit of a struggle for me. And I'm not going to read the whole thing for you because I'm not going to take away from Chuck. Definitely check it out. It's on the AmericanThinker.com. But he does end with this one line. And I appreciated this actually, because it's kind of like an admittance of like, they're losing the leverage. So this final line on the article says, I'll read the final two lines. They're inheriting a mess they didn't create, but are being forced to solve. If they must solve it, they'll do so on their terms. If that means turning away from traditional conservatism and tuning into Fuentes to preserve their future, then so be it. so be it. Because that's it. That is kind of like the defining element between the schism is one side's losing leverage and one side is continually gaining it. One side is prevailing. One side is moving the ball down the field. One side, the other side, is going, oh, how dare you, how anti-Semitic. Oh, this must be excised completely. No toleration. We're not canceling anybody. And then they expect to be heard out. Like, how dare you sit here and try to say everything that you say, this entire ideology, I'm not even going to hear out. And then here's me going to tell you what you should be doing. What? It's like, how dare you have the audacity to talk to me like this? How can you even feel entitled to this level to do that? You know, and especially too, like with the left is when you debate somebody with the left, we don't sit there and go, well, we say their ideas are insane, but we'll point out here's why they're insane. We'll engage with the argument, no matter how insane it is. And we're talking about dealing with engagements with arguments with transgenders, people who literally think they're men when they're women, and vice versa. But the people that are supposedly closer to you, that are just like one step to the right, you can even give half that amount of credibility to an argument. Why? And I think we all know the reason why. They are afraid. And now that Nick has broken containment, this is knocking on the door. And Matt Walsh can try to ignore it as much as he wants, and they're already in this phase too. Nick touched on this as well, but that's what they're doing right now, gatekeeping. Like they're just going to go, oh yeah, Nick's back on Twitter, okay, and they're going to ignore him. They're not going to engage. They're going to continue to do this stuff where they snipe and they smear, but they're not going to do anything where they can be on the same kind of spaces together. They're not going to be doing anything where they can be on the same, video chat together, because they know what it will do to them. When, for one, they can't defend their positions, or two, like what happened already to Joel Berry when he basically runs out of the room. It's a terrible look. It's indefensible. And quite frankly, their position is indefensible, and so is running away. But enough with Chuck there. My eyes are going to literally burn out of my skull. That was intense. It's burning my eyeballs out. But to move on, we had a bit more from Randy Fine. Randy Fine is a fat hog. And this guy needs to be, whoever is in Florida, if you can vote for one thing, Lord have mercy, get that guy out of office. Whatever it takes. Randy Fine would be, I'm telling you this right now, this is controversial. I would vote for a woman over Randy Fine. Any woman. I would vote for Candace Owens over Randy Fine. Get Randy Fine out of office, dude. This guy is not an American. He meets, by all credibility and criteria, that guy is an Israeli. You don't need a DNA test for him. Everything he does, says, his behavioral patterns, what he talks about, what he focuses about, what he takes joy in, i.e., photos of dead children, you need to go. This isn't your country. At least you're not treating it like that. And to be honest, too, like once somebody kind of exposes themselves to that level as well, it's like, I don't really know if there's anything that you can do to kind of repeal that. Like, sure, there's a path to redemption, but with the American people, would it be in our best interest to give you a second chance, even if you did apologize? No, you should just be gone. You have shown yourself already. But Randy Fine had this insane comment. I think this kind of really nails it, and we'll go ahead and watch it. And Clint Russell kind of clipped it, but let me switch it over here. And it's insane. I mean, I could not believe the quote when I saw this. And it's just a little clip here, but take a look at this. So it's from Clint Russell. I'll zoom it in too so you guys can see it. So he says, sure, I laughed at photos of children getting killed by the weapons I voted for, but have you heard what Nick Fuentes thinks about women? Wow. Yeah, sure, I laughed at a photo of a baby buried in rubble where it probably suffocated and died before it even had a chance to live 1 year. But man, did you hear Nick tell women to get back in the kitchen? Oh my gosh. Who is this audience for? It has to be only women in Betaman. Like, this is not appeal to a normal, regular human being, or at least a regular male, or heterosexual male, I should say that. But let's take a listen, because the caption doesn't even do it justice. The caption cannot do Randy Fine justice. You have to hear it in his own words. So take a listen here. We'll make sure the audio is going to be okay as well. I'm going to turn mine down too. I was having issues with this earlier, like I did on the members, but let's hope it doesn't blow people away.
Short time we have, I would say this. I did say we should kill.
Of course, it's going to blow people out. Okay, restarting. Sorry.
short time we have, I would say this. I did say we should kill all Hamas terrorists, and I stand by that. And what I laughed at was a fake picture that was sent to me where people tried to claim that Israel was killing babies, but what they sent me was a 10-year-old photograph of a baby being killed in Syria by Muslims. The point was, if this was real, you wouldn't have to generate fake pictures. But what I would say is, even if all of the things that he...
Bro literally says, it can't make this up. It doesn't matter because the photo is fake. Dude, regardless of whether it was a generated image or not, whether it was in a photo book, you laughed, mocked, and made fun of it. Like, you are a disgusting human being. You are repugnant. And think about this. This is the guy who's standing on what? On what moral authority are you sitting here calling anyone else disgusting? Who is buying this? Who is this for? How do you get a segment on CNN doing this shit? This is the kind of stuff that makes people think everything is rigged. You're telling me this guy's not been ran out of office yet? Or maybe no one is literally paying attention. And part of the reason why people don't pay attention is because, for one, MAGA is a scam. So they already lost all the momentum they had there. And two, the majority of who already knew it's a scam are already depressed about the overall situation anyway. They're blackpilled and they say, what's the point of voting anyways? Thus, the cycle continues. But here's the rest of it.
Claims I did were true. To say that is worse than someone who said the Holocaust didn't happen, that women should be raped, that makes the most horrific says the most horrific things about black people. When you will equate that and you'll say that's not that bad, we've got a real problem. I've said Tucker Carlson is the most dangerous anti-Semite in America, and I stand by that.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Tucker Carlson's a more dangerous anti-Semite than Nick. Hey, give Tucker his props, man. Randy Fine's more scared of Tucker, apparently. But it's just disgusting. It is so, and I think that's part of the element too. And I'll say it again as well. Like, this is part of like that vibrational hum, right? It adds to that just general like irritation you have. Like when you wake up in the morning, you don't wake up like how the movie depicts it, like, the birds kind of like they land on your shoulder. You can hear like the chirping outside on the windows and you're like, oh my gosh, what a beautiful day. Nobody really wakes up like that. We probably could, if this was the United States of America, not the United States of Israel. But the point being there is everybody's kind of under this spell, which is this overwhelming kind of influx. I think Kai Swimmer said it best, the super stimuli. Human beings were not meant to have this much stimulation from these things. And when you add that stimulation to be porn, just degeneracy and at large, nonstop videos of black people killing white people, or just violence in general, or matter of fact, seeing all these explosions, these big factories, right? I think that's just even a smaller element that probably makes the average female just feel nervous because they see massive explosion, UPS plane lands here, and then they see one the next week, and then they see one the next week. And it makes people feel like everything is falling apart. It makes them feel like everything is effed. And so it continues. That's kind of like the foundation for most people's emotional, analyzation of what's going on. So in the back of their heads, for most people who don't know too much, going off of their own intuition, they just go, well, take a look around you, man. It's all falling apart. And so that's where most of this goes. And this adds to it. And imagine this wasn't the only post on X today like that. This is like one of thousands that are like that. And it's day in and day out, over and over and over again. And this is just one kind of form of it, right? This is like the pro-Zionist crowd. And that obviously bothers for different reasons than like seeing like, all of the, Alex Rosen and the pedophile degeneracy stuff, or also seeing like the black on white, violence, and seeing like the court cases, and then seeing, and another element of that too is people putting like, oh, did you see this guy who did this awful, horrendous, violent crime? He got 1 month in jail, and it's like people see that and they're just mad. It just makes them mad, and that's all that most people are seeing. And so that's why for a lot of people, the healthiest thing for them to do is they just go, okay, I'm just going to delete X. I'm going to delete Facebook, and that's kind of what they want you to do, because now you're just not even in the game at all. Now you're only getting information from sources that are either told to you or you see on TV. And that is a form of escapism. And that's ultimately what we don't want. That's what libertarianism was in this country. It basically convinced a lot of guys that they could go out into their yard, They could put up a Gadsden flag and they go, well, do whatever you want as long as you don't bother me. Now, that was very successful, wasn't it? Now our nation is essentially owned by foreigners. The average guy is continuing down that path. And the people who are staunch libertarians are the main people who are standing in our way of changing anything at all. Wow, perfect. What a cocktail. How enjoyable, how awesome, how great. And so this brings us to another story, which, picking back up off the back of Kash Patel's girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins, is now suing Elijah Shaefer and Sam Parker. She had originally, and I'm assuming she must have withdrawn the lawsuit, and forgive me because I didn't have much time to check into this, but she had originally sued Kyle Seraphin, which I had covered. And the hilarious aspect of her suing Kyle Seraphin was that Kyle Seraphin didn't fabricate the claim. He was referencing claims that had been made months prior. So I'm assuming that defamation case completely fell through. And so now this new one is Alexis Wilkins, who is Kash Patel's girlfriend, who many people argue is an Israeli honeypot. Elijah Shaefer and Sam Parker are now being sued for $5 million in damages for making that claim. And here's the hilarious part. The claim that they reference, the initial post that supposedly hit this off, and that is the thing there. It's why Kyle Seraphin, his story matters, is because to meet the burden of defamation, it has to be provable that it was you who fabricated the claim that then was spread to others, right? Like if you're the source of the fabrication, that's what meets the definition of defamation. And Kyle Seraphin didn't, because he didn't make up the claim. He didn't start the claim. He referenced other people. So now they're going to the people who he referenced, like Shaefer and Sam Parker. Let me get this here from, this is Viva Fry. And Viva Fry is somebody who I go back and forth on. He's just kind of a gay Canadian. But he's got decent opinions every now and then. So this is from Viva Fry. He says, Alexa Wilkins' lawsuit against Elijah Shaefer is so bad it defies words. In fact, it defies words because according to the allegations of the lawsuit itself, no defamatory words were spoken or written. While defendant may not have included any caption to spell out the meaning of his post, he didn't have to. So I'll stop right there. And that is the thing. So the first post they're claiming from Elijah Shaefer is one that is just a photo. There's not even a caption on the post. But that's their argument. Their argument to that is, while he didn't have a caption to spell out his meaning of the post, he didn't have to. And so Viva Fry goes on, I didn't make that up. That is actually the allegation. I appreciate the concept of defamation through implication, but I do not think this comes close to that exceptional form of defamation. He also goes, I also think even if he called Alexa a honeypot or Mossad agent, false as that may be, it is still obviously a statement of opinion. This lawsuit looks ridiculous, it looks desperate, and reflects poorly on an administration that prides itself on free speech. Respectfully and humbly submitted. And I'll appreciate that. And Viva is sketchy. Trust me. I'm leading with. I led with. I think he's gay, right? Like I really don't know. I have a good hold on Viva, and he's from Canada, so take that with a grain of salt. And here's Kash Patel once again. In the news for anything good? Nope. In the news for his girlfriend, who's 20 years younger than him, that used to work for PragerU, and PragerU CEO is Marissa Street, I believe, who is a IDF soldier, and she used to work in the Unit 8200 of the intelligence agency, and that's where people are generating a lot of this claim from. It's that Alexis Wilkins was a regular contributor at PragerU. And when asked about it initially, she got angry. I don't know when she was asked about this, or when people had initially pushed that, but she was like, no. She's like, I don't work for PragerU. I just regularly do work for them. Okay. So she wasn't employed by them, but she was a regular contributor, right? So a contractor. So she's playing these stupid semantics with that. Kash Patel needed fired 2 months ago. And at this point, he needs denaturalized, deported, and sent right back to India, wherever he belongs. And hell, dude, he probably felt bad because he missed the poop throwing festival. Get this guy away from my country. Get this guy away from the levers of power. He is a shit stain on this nation. And the only thing that he was even brought in there for was because he was able to bring in the mass appeal of all of the the 70 IQ thinkers that exist in MAGA, and they go, wow, Indian guy who says, well, I'll get the Epstein files. They go, wow, I'll vote for him. And Nick made a good point. I think it was Nick. I was listening to a lot of people earlier today. But where's Dan Bongino? Haven't heard a word spoken from this man for Lord knows how long. And he's supposed to be the partner in crime with Kash. Dude probably weeps every day at his desk. He probably asks God for forgiveness. Like, and that just makes me sad, right? This is somebody who gave up his podcast, and ultimately, I don't even feel bad they gave up his podcast. I just feel bad that he might have been the one that was punked. Out of anybody who's in this administration, he might be one that actually did get punked. And at this point, he's just part of it now too. You know, he should have said something. He should expose these people. Who cares what risk it comes at, man? And that's the part, dude. Like having the conviction to believe in something greater than yourself. So who knows what's going to come from that? And you can find that too. Elijah Shaefer put up a video somewhere. I think it's like a 15-minute video you guys can find of Elijah Shaefer. And it was the quote to you from Candace Owens, but it's a 15-minute video and he kind of goes through the case as well, kind of explaining his side of it. And I would recommend that too. So rooting for Elijah Shaefer to beat that case. And honestly, the reality is we know why they're actually pushing the case. It's kind of this, you know, the legal counsel making Elijah have to take a step away from his job. It's because of his opinions, man. It's because he's very vocally anti-Israel, and they hate that. It's the same thing with Sam Parker. It's not actually because they think they're going to win this case. It's a stupid case. It's because they want to make it hell on earth for people who say anything that goes against this, you know, against the current status quo. And to really, you know, make this story come full circle. This is from Sarah Stock. She writes, Kash Patel's girlfriend is posting feminist slop, complaining that people calling her Kash Patel's girlfriend is a microaggression against women. This is from Alexa Wilkins, right? 20 minutes ago. It's a screen grab from, I think this is Instagram. I don't use Instagram. She has that quote crashed out. Kash Patel's girlfriend, because that's obviously a downgrade to women. Like, it's such a joke. She rewrites, American patriot, successful singer and activist. And it's crazy because it's like, if you were a successful singer, I think I would have like heard you from your music, not because you had to tell me and everyone else around me in the political sphere has to say it. But she writes here at the bottom, she has her own name and her own identity. Mainstream media's talent for microaggressive belittling of women is relentless. And so her boyfriend is like this super bass Chad. I'm supposed to believe that. Her boyfriend's like this super bass Chad who's like really going to get us the Epstein files. Really? Really? Say what? What do you mean to say? You suspect he is 6'7"? Eva Fry he honestly might be Jewish, to be honest. He looks like it. He's got the curly hair. But that's your FBI director. At this point, it's like, dude, hey. Like, I hate even saying it, but man, like, I'll take Christopher Wray back. At least he's white. No, it's a joke. I'm kidding. They all suck. What are you gonna do? It's just a joke, dude. It's just a joke, man. And we all see right through it. And they just don't. And they act as if like it's a very, like they're doing a good job of hiding it. They're like, oh, they're never going to catch us on this one. And it's like, bro, you know, it's like the fat guy sitting behind the sapling. It's like this big. And he's like, it's like, bro, everybody sees you, man. You can come out. We just want to have a conversation. It literally is like on GTA, that stream clip of Nick playing. And he's like, I just want to have a conversation, man. We're having a battle of ideas. Come back. We don't want to hurt you. Then we have another story. And so I would encourage people to definitely look a little bit into the Elijah Shaefer one. You can also watch my video on it when they sued Kyle Seraphin. But then we also had Megyn Kelly standing up for herself. And I thought this was great. So Megyn Kelly actually issues a correction to Ben Shapiro. She issues a correction to Ben Shapiro because when they were together last, Ben made the claim that Candace Owens is evil. And he substantiated that claim by saying very specifically that Candace had made repeated claims about Erica Kirk being behind or involved to a high degree of Charlie Kirk's assassination. So now there's a clip going viral today, because it's like 40 seconds long, and we'll play it here in a second, of Megyn Kelly correcting Ben. And that is a step in the right direction. But additionally, it got me thinking too. I really, really, really hope that she saw that little portion clip of Nick where he's asking both Megyn Kelly and PBD, how do you feel? How did that make you feel? How did it make you feel when Ben presented and acted as your moral superiority, as if you were lesser than him? How did that make you feel, Megyn? I hope she saw that, because I'm glad that she stuck up for this. Now, ultimately, it wasn't too much of a decrying of Ben, but she didn't stay silent. And so let's still go ahead and take a look at this. We'll go ahead and pull it up. This is the aggregate. And here it is. So even Candace Owens jumped in and said, like, thank you. Wow, 30, about 1 million views. Which she writes, retweet, thank you, Megyn Kelly, for clarifying that Ben Shapiro quite literally lied to your face and to your audience about my words. Rarely in politics do you see someone lie so brazenly in an effort to morally blackmail someone into their possession. Okay, that's not rare, Candace. Trying to equate questioning Turning Point USA employees about their verifiable lies to accusing Erica Kirk of murdering her own husband is a vile and obvious attempt to shut down further investigation, and it will not work. And that is what Ben was doing. Ben was trying to greatly exaggerate what Candace Owens had said to something that it quite literally isn't. And so let's take a listen here. This is Megyn Kelly. This is Megyn Kelly telling Ben to go home. No, just kidding, I wish, but here it is.
He said that Candace has been claiming Erica Kirk was behind the murder of Charlie, which I had not heard, and I was taken aback because that seems like something I would have heard. It's so crazy. And I have since learned it is not true. Candace has not made that claim. And in fact, I've now seen several clips of Candace specifically defending Erica Kirk and saying she would never make a claim like that about Erica, and that she is open-minded to other people at Turning Point. That's obvious. She's been making that point. I had heard that point. But she's specifically been defending Erica Kirk, and she's been saying she does not think that of Erica. And in fact, if you read her comments, she's under pressure to make comments about Erica. And so far, what I've seen, she hasn't. So thank you for that question.
And once you see the clip, it appears that she didn't come up that of her own accord, as Chris Pugh was directly asked about it. And so there's the kind of the other prevailing element. You can just catch that. Thank you for your question, right? It's good regardless. I'm glad that she came out and was affront to it. But again, right, I was getting ready to go to this slide. There's something very, very, not Erica, I was going to go to Megyn Kelly. There's something very, very off about the fact that Megyn Kelly is somehow like this arbiter. And this happened once before, and I should have looked it up, but there was another instance previously, and it was on the grounds of anti-Semitism, and Megyn Kelly didn't do a good enough job of like saying no or like having a position or whatever. And all of my timeline is the same thing it was like earlier this week. It's quote tweets of Megyn Kelly and why she needs to go learn. She needs to go get sent on a trip to Israel to go actually learn and not be so anti-Semitic. And I think that actually, no, that was because of the Charlie Kirk thing. That's right. When she had sat there with Charlie, she had the, when Charlie was kind of like opining a little bit over what his disagreements were with Israel. And I think that was when Charlie was saying, they call me an anti-Semite. And he was like, that's insane. He was like, I'm over here like defending you guys like crazy. And it's true, man. Like he was growing a nose almost at the point. And the second time it's happening. So you have these extreme Zionists, like the one Pastor Greg Locke wrote something along the lines of like Megyn Kelly's also, she's now part of the Jew-hating cult. And it's like, do you see the way they will treat you? Megyn Kelly is dancing, doing the song and dance. Ben is playing the song, he's being the Pied Piper, and Megyn Kelly's wooing the crowd. And that's still not good enough. She's sitting there getting verbally berated by Ben Shapiro in his most annoying ass voice to his in half of its lies, and going, yes, Ben Shapiro. Yes, Ben Shapiro. Yep, no, I would never say that, Ben. No, you know I love Jews. Yep, okay, yep, definitely, Ben. And then she has a 40-second clip about where she's correcting Ben over something that's objectively true. She's literally getting thrown right back into the anti-Semitic crowd. So this isn't a point to say endorse Megyn Kelly. It's a point to say, Megyn Kelly, do you see what you are to these people? Do you see there's no level of appeasement because they view you as something inherently different, which you are? And so I really can only hope that Patrick Bet-David sees the same light, honestly. And maybe he will. We're going to cover that a little bit because Piers Morgan and PBD had a little bit of a conversation because Piers Morgan let it be known that he would like to interview Nick. And so let's move there. Piers Morgan going to have Nick on before Ben. Piers Morgan going to have Nick on before Steven Crowder. Piers Morgan going to have Nick on before literally everybody, before Matt Walsh, before... This kind of is the point, isn't it? We now actively have a bunch of left-wingers and liberals who are willing to platform Nick because they just want to have the conversation with him and see where he's going to go. But the right wing is entirely not engaging with it. And it's just funny because it is such a stark contrast from where we used to be, where the right wing was looked at as the debate me crowd, where largely it would be like the left. People would always say that the left were the ones who were afraid to debate. The left were the ones who were always disappearing. Which was true until apparently Nick interviewed Tucker, and now the whole world has flip-flopped and we don't even know who we are anymore. But let's take a listen to this. This is Patrick Bet-David, or really Piers Morgan on Patrick Bet-David on wanting to have Nick on for an uncensored interview. Switch it over here.
Anybody likes it.
If I can make it full screen, Lord have mercy.
My criticism was not that he platformed him. Tucker he's right. He can platform anybody he likes. It's one of the biggest platforms in the world. My only criticism was, why didn't you give him as hard a time as he gave me?
I think that's fair. I think that's fair I'm doing that. But so you would house Nick Fuentes?
Well, I think in light of all the controversy about him, it'd be quite interesting to get him on my show and actually do an uncensored number on him, where I go after him about a lot of the stuff he said on the record. I think now it's...
You would lose your Jewish donors, so if you do that. So I just want to prepare you for it.
I don't care about things like that.
You're going to lose that kind of stuff.
I never care about any financial impact of anything I do. I think you've got to be intellectually honest in this game.
I'll take that. And that's the thing, yeah. Even if it is just because they want clicks and views, we'll take it. Even if it's because they want to boost their platform, we'll take it. And quite honestly, it's like with the left, it at least allows it to be... It allows Nick to take on the position of the conservative versus their left-wing ideas. You know, I think in any form, I think the more exposure, the better. And obviously, they're trying to prevent that from happening. And I'm kind of curious what other kind of major platforms he could go on. I don't trust Piers Morgan either. His interview with Kanye West was insane. I almost sneezed. Where I can't even remember what he had said. I think he had repeatedly would not say yay or something. And obviously Kanye is super emotional. It was just funny because they walked off and then Sneako walked off and everyone was excited and amped for this interview. And then it literally didn't even happen. It didn't culminate into literally anything that was worth anybody's time. But I think Nick would be a different story. I think Nick, because he engages people very friendly, he does disarm people. That's what they're terrified of that element because he is extremely disarming. When he has conversations, he's very approachable. They hate that. They hate that because he is like the perfect, well, I hate to say that, but he is a great avatar. And what better avatar, quite frankly, for all of our ideas. And it's getting very similar to what I said previously about the Donald Trump stuff, which is I feel there's a lot of similarities here. Can't stump the Trump. And this is the fact that no matter what they're throwing at Nick, it's elevating him. And it's like if anybody watches Demon Slayer, there's one of these guys in there, I think his name's Inosuke. And all of his enemies he views as leaping stones or stepping stones. And he's like, be my stepping stones. When he beats somebody, he leaps off of them. That is kind of like what Nick is doing. It's like, come at me. And it's like, thank you. And it's like, I got another handhold. Here I go, sending even higher. And I did get a message the other day from American Crusader. I don't know if he's in here right now. And he'd asked me what my wager was on Nick Fuentes overtaking Charlie Kirk's subscriber account or follower account, I should say, on Rumble. So I went and checked, and Nick just passed at 500,000. He's at 510,000 right now or something like that. And Charlie was sitting at 1.9 million. So I kind of thought Nick was at little over 80,000 before in the middle of July. So if he's about 105,000 per month, given where we are now. And if it stays that way, which I imagine it will for a little bit, it'll probably trail off at some point, I would imagine, unless there's another kind of major interview or something else blows up too. But probably this time next year. And that's also too, if YouTube doesn't full blown, like, accept him back on. I mean, they already did a halfway step by allowing him to be on as guest and allow people like myself to clip him constantly. So maybe they loosen up even more. But I would imagine he would. I would expect that he would. And I'm not even sure where he's at on X. I know he's over 1 million now on X, but obviously the influence can't be denied. Now, there was a couple smaller things, though, moving away somewhat from the Tucker costs and all of this, and obviously Nick Fuentes. There were two things. Candace Owens was actually going into detail about not the geofencing campaign from Israel that was dumping a bunch of money into propagandizing the West Coast evangelical Christians, but she also was covering a bit about these Jewish organizations that were offering pastors across the U.S. Like, she said $2,500 for propaganda. That, like, blew me away. And you can hear it in one of these pastors, which is funny. He's calling her like an anti-Semite, and I think he goes after Tucker Carlson as well too. And what's up, everybody? I appreciate everybody for being here. I know there's a lot more in here than typical, but I do appreciate everybody for being here. But apparently earlier this year, Candace had brought that up, that she had in some way been privy to the fact that a billionaire, after the Tucker and Ted Cruz interview, which was brutal. I mean, Ted Cruz basically got crucified, no pun intended, that this billionaire after that interview donated a generous sum of money to push pro-Israel propaganda as well as anti-Tucker and anti-Candace sentiments. And so Candace Owens plays this video on her show, and it's like this pastor walking around front and back, and he's like, if you guys read your Bible as much as you watched Fox News, we'd have a revival in this country. It's kind of the same old throwaway lines that mean nothing that all these pastors go with. And it was curious because when I thought about it, there was somebody in my personal, like, in not my personal, but in our Discord here for OA, they had sent me a live stream of their church, and it was something we were arguing about, and I don't want to say too much details, but no joke, when I clicked on that live stream, the opening before the pastor even cracked open his Bible, he spent about 10 minutes talking about the anti-Semitism from Candace Owens. And so now I'm curious now too. There's what level? Where does it end? Where does it end? When does it end? And to think too, like the first FAR filing for this stuff, like pretty much ever, was the geofencing campaign. And I can't stand that they get away with it with this weird kind of contradiction. And it's not even, well, it's not a contradiction, but it's a loophole, which is, I can be born in America, but I'm Jewish. My clear and obvious loyalties by everything I do in my actions is Israel first. But because by the simple fact that I was born in America, someone who does all of that stuff doesn't have to register under FAR. It's not seen or viewed in a way of like it's foreign influence, but it is though. It's like this guy's donating money for the full intents and purposes of pro-propagandizing a foreign nation. Him being born in America doesn't mean, like, to me, that doesn't mean much. It's like, it's more about the intent. And let alone anyways, what American is pushing for another country in the midst of us being genocided and our economy's in the shitter, 50-year mortgages, 15-year car loans? Who cares about another country right now? And they're over here saying like, oh, don't you care about this? It's like, I don't. I seriously don't. And like, obviously I feel bad for the injustices around the world. I feel bad when I see genocide and slaughter. And obviously my heart goes out to the people who are dealing with that. But that's not my responsibility. That's not my people. And so I'm not cut from the cloth of people who can look at themselves, look at their own people and go, you know what matters just as much as them? My own flesh and blood? This random Nigerian, 1,800 miles away across the Pacific or the Atlantic Ocean. I'm sorry, I don't vibe with that. And I think the majority of people in my camp would agree with that. Like, it's actually a no from me, dog. Like, we would actively push so that no money could leave the country to support that until people were getting benefits at home, until we were doing things to help benefit at home. And this is kind of the overwhelming, even if you move away from the age brackets, that what was America First. And it's crazy to think now, America First is competing with Israel First, or America First is competing with MAGA. Like, they're two different entities, actually. MAGA is the fake America First, and America First is America First. But if you listen to anybody older than the age of 40, they will tell you America First is the second coming of Hitler. This is what we're up against. This is the framing of what is happening right now. And I don't want to spend too much time on the other stuff. There's an update on Dave Portnoy. You know what? I'm not going to say it. I'm better than that. I'm not going to say it because we love everybody. We are Christian nationalists here. We love everybody. We don't want anybody to get hurt. We don't want to harm anybody. We don't want to be harmed. We want our country back, and we want it to honor Jesus Christ. We want our country back, and we want 50 bajillion, a million, trillion, thousands of whatever the number is, we want them out. They all must go. Just like it says on the Groyper report, they all must go. There's no back and forth. We're not going to play pity patty. Well, maybe this one or maybe this one. No. Every single one, including Usha Vance, including Kash Patel, including Ben Shapiro. And Nick had a great argument of Ben basically is a foreigner, right? He married an Israeli. His kids are Israeli. I mean, what more else could you want? I mean, it's kind of getting into a semantic argument with Ben. But Dave Portnoy, I'm crying more about the fact that somebody threw coins near his feet and told him to F off. He's, I think he's once again trying to get this guy to do a tour at Auschwitz. It's incredible. How Barstool Sports is successful, I will never understand because that stuff never clicked with me. I never got the humor. I never got the humor of oh, I got a fat gut and I'm a lazy, miserable fuck. Oh, haha, isn't it so funny? Everybody laugh at me. Laugh at me. Laugh how fat and ugly and gay I am. Ha ha ha. And it never vibed with me at all. And that's what Barstool Sports, people who like Barstool Sports and sports betting, that's what they enjoy. And I'm sure, and I'm somebody who does, and listen, I watch the Chargers occasionally. You can watch sports ball and be involved in politics, but to the degree that these guys worship it, no. And that's a lot of what it is. I mean, dude, sometimes I'd be getting texts in the morning from guys from that I used to grow up with. Hey, what do you think about this money line here, dude? I don't give a shit. I don't care. Just whatever you guess, I guess, dude. I don't care. I don't care. And then it's it's the Alex Jones thing again. What do you think about all the Israeli influence? Oh no, I don't want to get into that, man. Okay, thanks, brother. Thanks. I'm glad we can talk about the real stuff around here. But then I do have friends who can do both. I have friends who can talk deeply about how far this stuff goes and have deep conversations about it. And we can also talk about sports. And it's what is it in man? What is it that gives them that cognitive dissonance? What is it that puts the fear of God into giving their opinion out? And for some it's women. For some it's just general social pressure and they just can't handle it. Okay, but we're about to continue. We're going to get into the community submissions. We have 2, and then we have the gay of the day, and I'll probably go ahead and sign off. I know I might end up getting to 2 hours, but that's what we're going to cover. But let's get into the community submission.
This is today's community submission.
So this first one we're going to have here actually comes from Gen Z Goy, who sent this to me via message. And so what I have here is one of the clips. And the basic premise here is Mike Flynn, rather, the former head of DIA, is making the claim that there's reports swirling around inside the intelligence community that they fear that there's going to be a major terror attack, basically a mega 9/11 event or a terrorist attack on steroids. And so let me go ahead and pull this up here for you. We'll go ahead and watch the clip in its entirety while outside the Methylene Red, the commercial at the end. But here it is. This is from Alex Jones having on Mike Flynn. And let me also add some more context here too. The rising fear is seeing how there is this extreme kind of convulsion or this reaction happening to the crumbling firewall that is, Nick Fuentes and the Groypers, that they possibly may need to ramp up their operation. And also on the other side of that, mirroring this, is the fact that there is rising tensions in the Middle East. We just went through the New York Times article yesterday. They're going to be at war very soon again. And the one thing to maintain there, the one very specific line in there was the fact that instead of firing 500 missiles through over 12 days in multiple waves, Iran said what they want to do is one wave, and they're going to drop 2,000 missiles at once. And on the other side of that, the Israelis are saying if that's what Iran plans to do, we need to treat that move as a nuclear weapon. And so you can see how quickly the pressure is pushing up here. So now they're changing the rhetoric to be, even if Iran doesn't drop a nuke, it's still trying to drop a nuke. They're still going to find a way to match the level of what Iran is doing to be something that they should be expected to not. And the one thing I would also say too, if you were a defender of the Second Amendment, you by default have to defend Iran. If you believe that it is a God-given right that every person is allowed to defend themselves from both domestic threats and foreign, you are by default in defense of Iran. And honestly, props to Iran for pulling out of all the agreements and saying no to all this ridiculous. Well, they're still getting sanctioned, but saying no to the monitor program for all their nuclear and uranium enrichment. But here it is. Here's the clip. I hate to take too long or rant too long, but here is the clip from Alex Jones. Let's turn it down because he is loud.
I think that what we are seeing across the country, and because all the capabilities and all the resources are here, they were brought here by during the Biden administration, and in some cases they have infiltrated into different parts of our country, in counties and in states, and certainly into the federal government. So the capabilities to do severe damage to different parts of our sectors within our country, the electronic sector, the telecommunications sector, and also just to cause chaos. Because you say, well, if there's going to be some type of an attack that's going to make 9/11 look like a church fire, then why? The whole purpose is to sow chaos, to continue to disrupt the ability for President Donald J. Trump, to continue to do the things that he wanted to do and he set out to do as president of the United States that we, the people, gave him the authority to do. And so one of the things that they're going to have to do within the subordinate organizations of our federal government, of the executive branch, particularly the FBI, the CIA, and some of our other federal law enforcement agencies, they're going to have to start really working vastly better together. I mean, we know we still have millions and millions of illegals in this country that are very dangerous criminal elements. And we haven't, there's not that many that have been sent out yet. So, and we know that
let's just be clear that the former head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, the former head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, former top national security advisor, highly respected for your analysis over the decades. That's why he got promoted so high. You're predicting a new mega 9/11 potentially in the next 90 days.
Yeah, it's never the last thing that happened, okay? It's not like we're going to be needing to watch for planes in the sky. It is a combination of things because they have found a massive number of vulnerabilities in the sort of the body of America. And those vulnerabilities are, in some cases, our inability to respond to chaos and complex operations. And if they're trained in complex operations, which they are, small teams, small elements, dispersed, in a wide pattern all over the United States of America, which we know. You mentioned one of the criminal elements earlier, but you have the TDA, you've got the MS-13, you've got elements of Islam, radical Islam in here, like Hamas and Hezbollah. I mean, this axis of resistance that's already inside of our country. I mean, this is not me making this shit up, Alex. This is what's happening. So,
is it good that Trump is moving on Venezuela to cut off that funding?
Yeah, I think that what Trump is doing in Venezuela right now, but he's got to put more pressure on Maduro to get Maduro the hell out of there. He should be making calls to Xi. He should be making calls to Putin and saying, hey, look, let's get this guy out of there. Let's clean up what we got to clean up. And let us deal with this issue in our own hemisphere. Let the person who was duly elected, Machado, to go take the country over and see how she can do it. And let's back out of that mess, right? The United States, Trump needs to focus on America first.
Ooh, I almost nailed it. I knew the methylene blue ad was coming. I am somebody who doesn't appreciate Mike Flynn. I guess we can probably leave it at that. What I would say is I think the potential of a false flag is always there. There's precedent for it. Anything that has precedent can always happen again, especially when it's like regularly used, regularly talked about. Somebody also said fear porn, and I do agree there is an element of that too. The one thing I would say, though, is the fact that the National Guard has been getting moved to all of the different states when we're not getting mass deportations. And initially, they were being organized and mobilized because supposedly it was the No Kings protest. But now I am kind of curious, why is the National Guard being mobilized and put all around the country if we're not getting deportations, right? What is the difference of what are they doing, right? What is this for? Now, maybe there is some fear. Maybe there is credible reports of something going on, but I highly doubt that. I would imagine it's just more fabrication. It's more power play. It's more control over the system. What I would say is this, and I don't think we covered it here yesterday, but there is a video of Zelensky being interviewed, and I can't remember who was interviewing him, where it looks like there was a planned power outage because the lights go off in the middle of the interview. It's just very odd. And somebody pointed out, like, that should have never happened, right? There's all these backup generators, and they could tell, like, the backup generators didn't even fire or something. I read a little bit into it, so take that for what it is. But if there was to be like a 9/11 type event, it will more than likely be coming in the form of a cyber attack, or it will be some kind of industrial control attack. It will be something along the lines of like a mass outage, right? Whether that is electricity or a regional grid down, right? Like something that is so encompassing that it's going to force people to have to move. And it'll probably come out and be like, power is not expected back for 2 weeks. I mean, that right there is chaos. And imagine if that happens to a place like Los Angeles. Where are they going to go? Right? If the entire city of Los Angeles, they know they're going to not have power for 2 weeks. I mean, a lot of people are going to have to find somewhere else to stay. Or they're going to have to move elsewhere. Or for a lot of people, that may just shut down jobs in general. Some businesses may just send you back. They may just send you home. There's a lot of things that they could do. They could even do something basic as the internet going down, widespread internet outages for, extended periods of time and things like that. There's loads of things they could do, right? They could do pager attacks, right? There's a load of things that are obviously on the table. But I do think it's telling that this was a report that came out literally the day after the New York Times article reported upon the fact that war with Iran from Israel is inevitable. I find that to be notable, which is false flag news jumps up the same day that Israel and Iran go to war. Wow, what could that be? What does that show us, guys? It's like Dora the Explorer. Like, come on. I just do the same thing 5 times until I say it. But thank you, Gen Z, Goy, who put that in here. I do appreciate that, brother. The second community submission came from House, and it was actually going to be something I was going to cover regardless. But it was Trump's interview with Laura Ingraham that is, quite frankly, going to be the featured story of today, and was the reason why I made the thumbnail what it was, which was Trump, but looking like Santa, looking like he is close to the edge of loosing his mortal coil, if you will. And so I have this from Dominic Michael Trippi, and I like him a lot. I think he's one of the best guys on X, especially for journalists. He writes, Trump's interview with Laura Ingraham was an embarrassing disgrace, easily his worst ever. MAGA is dead, Trump is out of touch, dismissive of struggling Americans, and has no solutions. America last. And so to catch you up to speed, what you have is, I'm forgetting his name, it's like Bill Pulte. So let's start here. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. The word gets spread around that Donald Trump is proposing 50-year mortgages. And I think it was an initial Truth Social post. Everyone goes, what? Everyone goes, what are you talking about? Following that news, because there's no details beyond that. Following that news, it's floated out that they're also looking at 15-year car loans. I hope you know that I signed up for a 5-year from one of my recent ones that I just got out of, and that I wish I would have gotten a 3. I wish I would have been able to be able to pay more on it. So you have all these people just immediately reacting. You have Whoa, we covered that a little bit, right, with his post. And he was like, dude, if you push the 50-year mortgages, he's like, do not come to me when the Zoomers are doing unthinkable things to your family. He was like, and understand that this post is why. Which is insane, but it's on the nose. I mean, like, that is on the nose. Yeah, your kids get to inherit your mortgage payment. Indentured servitude is literally what it is. The car payment one took people, that was over the top. It's like, that is ridiculous. And especially given how a lot of the used car market is right now, no way. Addition to that, you have all these, the mortgage tables are coming out. People are showing, how much interest are you going to be paying? What are you actually be paying in principal? And so it was like a $500,000 loan on a 50-year plan. You basically end up at the end of that, you end up paying $1.2 million into it. So around $700,000 is interest, usury. And obviously this is not a solution at all. It is another Band-Aid on the problem. And that problem is, the reason why the housing market is in utter shambles is, well, for a couple of different reasons. One, you have BlackRock, but also the second element being, Mod's ban Evan Waste, or whoever that guy is. The second element is the fact that you have 50 bajillion people who shouldn't be here. But they won't do the deportations. They won't. Why? Everybody voted for it. Everybody wants it. Not going to happen. And that's the real crux of it, is we're getting the 50-year mortgage. We're getting the 15-year car rent to plan or whatever that is, because they won't deport people. They won't do the thing that got people up and out of their chairs to go vote for him in the first place. Oh, you're good, Tix. I was honestly just going to throw that out there to hope you just stop. Funny. And why is that? Because it was a scam to begin with. They knew when they were proposing it. They knew when you were holding the signs, when you were saying mass deportations, they were taking your applause. And the whole time they knew they were not going to hold their end of the bargain. So that's why we're getting a 50-year mortgage. And to top things off for you, they're trying to make Bill Pulte the fall guy for this. So there's multiple reports coming out that the White House officials in the Trump administration are furious at Bill Pulte. You want to know what's in the report there from Bill Pulte? Supposedly, Bill Pulte showed him a 3x5 poster board of himself next to Roosevelt. We saw the picture, I think, yesterday. And Trump tweeted it, or truthed it, or whatever, literally 10 minutes after seeing the photo. And they want to blame Bill. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. They want to blame Bill. Does that make sense? That Bill Pulte, the guy who proposed the plan, regardless of what his intentions were, they want to blame him because Trump, after hearing a spiel for 10 minutes, went, oh yeah, we should do that. I already posted it on True Social. Our president is in the same, and I'm hoping it's not, but it's clearly looking like that is. He's out of touch. He is old. He is aging. He is surrounded by people who do not have you and I's interests at heart. He is surrounded by people like Susie Wiles, his chief of staff, who guarantees that the only people who can get close to him are people who aren't like you and me. Now we get to where we are today. And so today we get an addition to this. It's somehow getting worse. How that's happening, mind you, I couldn't really answer that question, but it's getting worse. And so Trump has this interview with Laura Ingraham. And it's in this interview, there's two elements. So before we even get to the second element, the bigger piece that happened today, that Laura Ingraham, of all people from Fox News, was contending with Trump. So understand this, a woman commentator from Fox News is being contentious with Donald Trump. Understand where we are. But before we get to that, Trump actually defended the mortgages. Take a listen to this. This is insane, man. It's insane. So here's this. This is from ASIN. And he writes, Ingraham, is a 50-year mortgage really a good idea? Trump, it's not even a big deal. You go from 40 years to 50. Just listen to this. I'm not going to read the rest of it. Listen to this. This is insane.
Housing costs are still out of reach. And another thing that your administration is trying to tackle, many Americans, the average age of first-time home buyers are now up to age 40, which is sad. The country you and I grew up in.
I inherited that. Look, you have to understand.
Right, but let me get to the question, though, because your housing director has proposed something that has enraged your MAGA friends, which is this 50-year mortgage idea. So a significant MAGA backlash, calling it a giveaway to the banks and simply prolonging the time it would take for Americans to own a home outright. Is that really a good idea?
It's not even a big deal. I mean, you know, you go from 40 to 50 years, and what it means is 50, you pay something less from 30. That some people had a 40, and then now they have a 50. All it means is you pay less per month. You pay it over a longer period of time. It's not like a big factor. It might help a little bit. But the problem was that Biden did this. He increased the interest rates, and I have a lousy Fed person who's going to be gone in a few months.
It's not even that big of a deal. You heard it here first. And yes, Uncle House is right. Trump goes with whatever the last person who talks to him says. And that is bad. That means we have not a person, not a man who is president. We have he's a group project. Donald Trump is a group project. He is now showing himself, and I wish it wasn't so, that he is either aged to the point that he is entirely dependent upon the people around him, or maybe it was just this bad to begin with, but I do think it's the latter, or the former, I believe. He is showing himself here. He's not with it. And this is supposed to be our president. This is who we're expected to saying is holding it down in these very, tense and noxious kind of nuclear deals. Well, it's no wonder they fell apart. It's no wonder that this guy barked at Charlie Kirk, supposedly via the gray zone from Max Blumenthal. We can't have this. This is actually not even, you could go left, right, whatever. This is even not a nonpartisan issue. Our presidents of our nation should not be, knocking on heaven's door. Like they shouldn't be 1 foot into the ground. I'm fine with, if you want to keep it at 35, that's fine, but let's put a cap at 50. Let's make it impossible to vote for president, actually. And the reality is we should lower it from 35. It should probably be lowered from 35 to at least 30. I think 30 would be okay, maybe 30, 32, give it a bit more of a free range, 32 to 55. But no more of like these to be elected. I mean, if you're already in office, you can age beyond that, I guess. But to have these continual, like, just nursing home candidates, and then know that they are surrounded by people who are only going to continually pressure and push them in directions because they know they can get away with it, because they know the president is dumber than they are. This has to go. And this is what part of like the deep state is, right? The deep state is people who are like Susie Wiles and her staff and her team, the people who you don't know, the people who are talking to Trump and guiding Trump to this door and this door, the ones who are giving their advice and opinions on the policy that's getting written, or giving their opinions and writing in these small, like, notes, like maybe we don't need to talk to this person again, but we should talk to this person again. It all culminates. That is in essence like what the deep state is in the White House, in the administration level. But it got worse. It got so much worse. But just to show you, this is them trying to make Bill Pulte the fall man here. And it writes here, Trump posted the image to Truth Social 10 minutes after seeing it. And this is from AF Post right here. Really? He loved it. And you know what the sad thing is, actually? Is this was supposedly a board. So this is the photo of the board, it looks like. It's his ego. He saw great American president and his face on it with his name, and he said, I like it, we'll do it. He didn't need to know anything. Literally anything. And listen, I get Trump, throughout his life is a very smart businessman, but there's an argument to be made that he has clearly lost a step. And I think that's just, quite frankly, I think that's just kind of undeniable. Now, is it as bad as Biden? No, I wouldn't say that at all. But he's definitely lost a step. He has lost a step. And it's sad, even if he was in complete good graces, it would be a bad thing to see. You wouldn't want to see that from somebody you've obviously appreciated. And so, we'll watch the video. It's brutal, man. It's so brutal. But let me give you a bit of context. This is about the 600,000 Chinese students that he talked about, I believe, in August, where he had said, we need these 600,000 Chinese students who come in on visas, which I think is like the annual amount. This is what he says here. Trump says the U.S. can't deny 600,000 Chinese students coming to the U.S. because colleges would go out of business. Good, actually. Like, if the ones that can't make it, don't let them make it, right? The ones that are entirely dependent on all these funds, let them expire. Trump defends the move, saying he knows what MAGA wants better than anyone, implying MAGA wants Chinese students to prop up liberal colleges. So take a listen. It's about 2.5 minutes long here. This is brutal.
Folks are not thrilled about this idea of hundreds of thousands of foreign students in the United States. We have about 350,000 Chinese. One point during COVID, you were going to, push to, get them out, but that was pulled back. You've said as many as 600,000 Chinese students could come to the United States. Why, sir, is that a pro-MAGA position when so many American kids want to go to school and there are places not for them, and these universities are getting rich off Chinese money?
Sure. Never said about China, but we do have a lot of people coming in from China. We always have China and other countries. We also have a massive system of colleges and universities. And if we were to cut that in half, which perhaps makes some people happy, you would have half the colleges in the United States go out of business.
So what?
Well, I think that's a big deal.
Are they fans,
you would have the
fans of the United States?
Yeah, but you would have, as you know, historically, black colleges and universities would all be out of business. You would have a system of colleges and universities.
So we're dependent on China to keep our university system going?
But I think it's good to have. I actually think it's good to have.
There you go, Laura.
Countries.
Go, Queen.
I want to be able to get along with the world.
They're not the French. They're the Chinese. They spy on us. They steal our intellectual property.
What, do you think the French are better?
Yeah.
I mean, really? I don't know. I'll tell you, I'm not so sure. We've had a lot of problems with the French, where we get taxed very unfairly on our technology, where, they put 25% taxes on American products. Look, assuming everyone treats us badly, because that's the way I am, but we take in trillions of dollars from students. The students pay more than double when they come in from most foreign countries. I want to see our school system thrive, but at the same time, I know you and I disagree. We're never going to agree on it, but that's okay. And it's not that I want them, but I view it as a business. We have millions and millions of people. Also, I want to get along with countries if possible. People are shocked. Remember, Hillary Clinton said, we'll be in a war. I stopped 8 wars in the last 9 months. I don't want to be in wars. If I am in a war, we're going to win the thing fast, and it'll be violent. But you know what? I don't want to be in wars. But one thing, you don't want to cut half of the people, half of the students from all over the world that are coming into our country, destroy our entire university and college system. I don't want to do that.
I wouldn't lose any.
And don't forget, MAGA was my idea. MAGA was nobody else's idea. I know what MAGA wants better than anybody else. And MAGA wants to see our country thrive.
Nope. Actually, no. There's a couple things there. One, the first thing that I noticed was Laura pushing back. Like, I thought that was like, okay, go, Laura. The second thing is what most people have been thinking, but already knew, and I'm glad that he said it there. Trump said, I view this as a business. And what is he referring to? Well, he's referring to America. He's referring to viewing the Chinese students coming to college and how that as a consequence as a business. And that's what we're fighting against. Our homeland, our blood and soil, where we were raised in, it is not a business. It is our country. Those are two entirely categorically distinct things. A business is one thing. A country is entirely another. You will not defend a business for the most part with your life, but you will defend a country with your life. And obviously, I don't need to explain the differences between those, but if the point being is, really? But I guess it makes sense, obviously. Very impressed that Laura Ingraham pushed back. And here's what I would say too, and I'm glad Laura Ingraham brought up that aspect of the spying and the aspect of the stealing of information, because there has been numerous stories this year alone. And funny enough, this one, House also sent earlier in the week, I think it was like 3 or 4 days prior, he sent me a Zero Hedge article talking about, what are the names? Lord, I can't even pronounce them. Bai Zhu, Zhang Fengfen, and Zhang Zhiyong, who are all 30 years old and younger, who were all here on J1 visas, who were linked and arrested, I believe, for smuggling biological material. This is not the first instance of this. There have been numerous instances of this, and that happened in Michigan. And they were all here on J1 visas. None of them were here because they were traveling and whatnot. They were here because they got here via a government process. And coincidentally, the J1 visas are what Brittany Peterson is pushing. Brittany Pedersen, I think it's her name, right? The lady who went to Congress and she's like, my baby, we need to do better for mothers in Congress so I can hold my child here and say retarded shit. And she's pushing for him for ski resorts in Colorado. Why a 17-year-old from the local area could not, punch somebody's ticket at a ski resort is beyond me. But it does go to what I think Hook had commented. Maybe it wasn't Hook, but I think it was Hook. He said it's worse than what Sam Hyde says. The government and the people that are propagating this entire thing hate you. Now, they might hate you for different reasons, but regardless, they hate you. They take joy in your pain. Their pleasure is your suffering. And nothing will change until people are actually awoken to the fact that the majority of what goes on in this political environment is not being done because people are making, I'll make this decision here. Maybe that'll be what the best decision is. It's all tribalism. It's all competing factions of people who are trying their hardest to get their self-serving interest at the very top. And the worst part is Americans are almost nowhere on that list. It's Jews all the way up there. And then it's black people and trans people, gays, the left, women over here, and we're white Christian men on that list. And it's what I'd said in the video earlier. I'll probably go my entire life, I think, before I'll ever see a politician and I'll go, oh wow, dude, that's me, man. That's me. When I watch the Mel Gibson and the Patriot, and he's like, oh, it's got blood all over him. I go, man, that's me, dude. That's me. What I don't do is look at Trump and I go, that's definitely not me. That doesn't represent me. The same way that Brandon Tatum does not represent me. Steven Crowder does not represent me. Ben Shapiro does not represent me. Matt Walsh does not represent me. None of them do. And for a couple of them, maybe they say a few good things here and there. But they don't represent me. They don't have the natural affinity that I do. That you guys do. It has to be recognized. We have to take our own side, and that has to be pushed. That is the message. We have to take our own side. And one thing that I actually completely missed, and I should have got to at the beginning of the beginning of the show, actually, because it's in the description like that. But anyways, is appreciate you guys subscribing too. I appreciate that. Is Nikki Haley's son. Nikki Haley's son fits the bill of somebody who is non-white, but I would be willing to work with because they're saying all of the right things. And before we get to that, let me just put a pin on Trump. MAGA will go down in history as the biggest scam. I don't wish harm or anything upon anybody in the Trump administration. I just want them to get out of the way. I just want people to recognize and be aware and accept the fact. And if the only thing holding a lot of people back from that is just the shitty feeling of having egg on their face, get the fuck over it. There are too many things in my life that I'm trying to protect that you are all trying to literally take from me, not you guys, but obviously the system and other powers at large, for me to care about that. So what? You were wrong. Move on. And that's part of it too. It's like, just say you're wrong, and we'll have conversations. We'll bring you in. We can have some nuance here. We can try to like. But people have to wake up to this. And it's the same thing too. Like, why is Georgia having, in one of these elections, right, 20% voter turnout? It's because nobody cares anymore. There's nothing to get you out of bed to go vote. And that's the thing. It's like, that's what, we're so far away from a politician capturing that level of energy that it's like, it is all for what? It is this continuation of just voting for the lesser of two evils. And that's the status quo that we reject. And that's why you have accelerationism coming up out of the crowd, right? Should we withhold the vote? Do we act as a monolith? What do we do here, right? What do we do here? Because we're not voting for this shit again. What do we do here? But moving on to Nikki Haley's son. I want to play this video, actually, because it was hilarious. He came onto the scene from me because he had a viral tweet where he quote tweeted Vivek, and he said, because Vivek said, we should end identity politics, and then he quoted Vivek and said, we should end, what's the word? We should end H-1B visas, which is a good back and forth there. But this is Nikki Haley's son, Nalin Haley, making his cable TV debut on Fox News. And it might surprise you. If you know nothing about this kid, this is going to surprise you. You're not going to know what's being said on screen. It's going to be hitting. Why is this kid more based than half of people in the conservative media? I'll leave you with that. Let's go ahead and watch it. Here it is.
We have Nalin Haley in his very first television appearance. Nalin, thank you so much for joining us today. So why don't we start with, what are these anxieties that your generation, I think I laid some of them out. What does your generation think is the answer to these anxieties?
Well, a big problem is that we are seeing kids graduate with 6 figures in debt and not having a job to show for it. My main friend group graduated with great degrees from great schools. It's been 1.5 years since graduation. Not one of them has a job, not one. And when we look at all the other statistics, we see that 58% of recent college graduates are unemployed. Of those 42% that are employed, 50% of them are having temporary jobs or jobs that don't require a degree. And then when you look at affordability in the housing market, my parents probably bought their first house for $90,000, and now it's probably worth $400,000. I don't see how I'm ever going to own a home, and I do pretty well for myself.
Let me answer this, actually. Great question. Lord of the Ree asked me, Atlas, how do you square accelerationism with being a father? Serious question. Are we having a son in April? And I've been wrestling with the thought myself. Well, the idea here is this. If what the current track is, which it's already shown itself, is indentured servitude, I would wager back to you that I think my children growing up in anarchy is better than growing up with chains around both their neck, arms, legs, and their finances. That I would prefer that. I think it's a healthier environment to grow up in. But also the idea that accelerationism will only end in also like a complete apocalyptic nature, I think is also maybe a bit Hollywood. Not to say that that's the argument you're making. But accelerationism is in the sense of, I would imagine this nation could handle barely, but it would be some form of the nation would exist after a 4-year hand of Kamala Harris. Now, it may be, 19th in the world power at that point. And maybe there is no recovering from there. But if the other option on the table is a knowing constant steps towards this, a 50-year mortgage, man. Like, how close to Agenda 2030 do you need to get? That is, you will own nothing and you will be happy. And to me, it's like, yeah, like I do think, like I would, and to me, I squared away by the fact of, I have to do accelerationism because I don't have time to wait, and I don't want to risk. I don't want to risk we do incrementalism, and then when I turn 68, all the chances we had to actually do something when I had a physical and able body and a fit mind to do something, that chance has now escaped from me, and now I have to depend on people younger than me to do it. And then thus I have done what the boomers did to me. I have given my children the same problems to deal with. That's to me how I squared away. And I know there's a bit more nuance we made there, but that's kind of my thoughts on it. But to go back to the video though, great question, by the way, Lord of the Ree, I appreciate you. And thank you for the membership earlier, man. Thank you for that.
So it's not just me that's feeling it, it's everyone feeling it. And you look at the crime and the lawlessness. In just the past couple months, I had someone who was shot and killed outside my apartment, and I live in what is considered a very safe area. In that same couple months, you had someone who was jumped over a bad drug deal. And I'm sick and tired of having to go to CVS and have to push a button for an employee to unlock the toothpaste for me. This is America. This isn't what we do. This isn't how things work. Things should be able to work. People should have jobs. Houses should be affordable. This isn't normalcy. And the American dream is becoming less and less attainable with each passing day.
Absolutely. Just this past week, we saw in the introduction by the Trump administration of the idea of a 50-year mortgage. What do you think about that?
Whatever will lower the cost of houses, because right now we are prioritizing a lot of foreigners who come in here to take jobs, who work, and especially that's something we need to do. We need to get rid of the foreign worker visas. We need to ban H-1B visas, and we need to punish companies that are not putting American workers first and are putting foreigners first. It's a massive problem. And so anything to put more money in Americans' pockets and put American workers first, lower the cost of housing, I think we should absolutely do it.
A lot of people are surprised at your position on H-1B visas because you're Indian American, and H-1B visas a lot of them go to Indian Americans.
Right. Well, I mean, they shouldn't be, because I've seen how it's affected my friends and those around me. At the end of the day, my loyalty is to America. I don't have any, and that's part of assimilation. What we saw with Obama is that we had a lot of immigrants coming here, and the thought was, oh, you don't need to change. You don't need to have your loyalty to America. You could be who you are. No, you need to assimilate, and you need to act like an American and support American values and support American workers and American people. So yeah, we should absolutely ban it.
And there it is. No, I didn't appreciate the fact when he might just be dumb and doesn't really maybe he's not understanding fully the 50-year mortgage thing here. But he's right on the fact of what should come first is the visa program ending. I would fully support all visas ending, period, completely. In whatever company can't survive all the visas being gone, good. Burn it to the ground. This is why I appreciate what James Fishback is doing, which he's basically excluding companies. Now, James Fishback also might be a plant too, and similar, this kid might be as well. I mean, obviously his mom is Nikki Haley. Burn it to the ground. And you think too, like, you get people like Laura Loomer, right? They're talking about, well, we need to do this because, it's the returns on this is so great. And it's like, if the only thing, I saw this coming from somebody else, and I'm stealing it, so but thank you for it. If the only thing that you're conserving is GDP, you are not a conservative. That is where a lot of these people are. Now, this is the kind of, I brought up Nalin Haley as the example of, like, here's an Indian American saying, no, you need to assimilate. You need to be an American. You need to do that. That's what it is to be an American. And I think that's good. I like that. Now, how much influence does he ultimately have? Maybe he can be an impressionable young kid. I really don't know too much about him, but it's a step in the right direction. The thing is the more accelerationists there are, incrementalism also happens. And so let me give you an example, because it's kind of like a dichotomy. The more that people jump into the camp of accelerationism, the more the people who only want incrementalism go, they have to start giving up more ground, because they want to keep the distance between themselves and the accelerationists close. Otherwise, you almost become almost like two entirely different factions. So the same thing on the right wing. There's arguments between incrementalists and accelerationists, and then even further than that, you have complete revolutionaries on the right wing now. And when it's largely been just left wing people who are revolutionaries. And so the more that you have people pushing hard, willing to go up on stage, right, like Nick, and say, you know what, I'm going to lead, I don't even care if it's 2,000 guys, we're voting for Kamala Harris, I'm going to get 2,000 young men that should all be voting conservative, and we're going to stick a big middle finger to the current GOP because you did not and will not represent the people you were supposed to. And then once that gets bigger, when it's small, it doesn't matter as much. When it gets bigger, though, when it grows from there, when as it looks right now that more people are in that camp than the incrementalism camp, the incrementalists have to start making the compromises. The leverage has thus then went to the other side. And now the incrementalists have to start speeding up how incremental they are being. So it works in tandem like that. And politics is obviously a very complex kind of network with all the different people involved, the networks, the think tanks, the donors, the organizations, the nonprofits, the staff. I mean, But Marvel Jesus, completely right. What's simple is America first. What's simple is America first, America only, Israel last. Any country last. If you ain't first, you're last, right? We'll use Ricky Bobby, right? America has to be number one and everyone else zero. It needs to be said, I would like to see, it needs to be said, if you have to say you are an Indian American or you are a African American or you're just not American, you're just not. You either say you're an American or just shut the fuck up. Simple as. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a white American. I'm white and I'm American. I don't care you were born in Israel. I don't care that you're born in Mexico. I don't care you're born in Venezuela. If you want to be a part of this network, get with the program, get out. Go join the left, go apply for a job with Ben Shapiro, whatever you have to do, but get out because you're not America first. There's no nuance to this. The aid element only makes sense in soft power and regions that actually are close to our hemisphere. The Middle East is not that. So with that, I appreciate all of you guys for being here. I appreciate the growing audience. Thank you all for helping me reach 18,000, and hopefully I'll be hitting 20,000 here soon. Hopefully, as long as YouTube decides I am allowed to be here, I will stay. And like I did promise people earlier, I'm working on setting up a Rumble. I'm getting that the profile picture and the banner and stuff set up, and I'm going to start downloading order videos to get them posted, to start matching the channel exactly. I just don't want to, mess up the what's it called? The Rumble algorithm or whatever that is by literally posting 4,000 videos at once. But we'll see how that happens. I do appreciate all of you guys though. Truly, I'm rooting for every single one of you. I hope too, as well, that everyone here is seeking first the kingdom of God. Let that not be forgotten, that I am a Christian before I am anything. I am a Christian nationalist at that. That is my political position. I would like to see more white Christian men in positions of power and less foreigners. Wow, what a crazy ask. And all the new people who are here, who are probably watching the video that's been doing well, I appreciate it greatly. If you can, definitely smash the like button on your way out. It helps me tremendously. And offensively accurate, if you're new here, I do this Monday through Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. And I try to post as many videos as well, too. I try to do a bit of both. Try to do it as much as I can. But thank you guys very much. And I will show once again, New American Vision. That is the company, or the digital media venture, I guess, is what maybe the best way to say that. With Zeb Boykin, John Ward, Josh Vandernoord, and a few other people who are bringing along, Chuck Mason being one of them. Because we are trying to compete and dethrone all of the other shit media companies. As always, Christ is King. I hope you guys are doing well on your journey with Jesus, with the church. I know it's difficult. I know I talk about it all the time. I know sometimes going to church is hard, especially if you are limited to with church selection, but definitely go. It's worth the sacrifice. Make sure you're also in the Bible. Make sure you're also absorbing content, not just reading the verses, not just listening to what your pastor says. Make sure you're getting a healthy dose of Stone Choir, for God's sake. I guess that's probably better to say it. Definitely check out Stone Choir. I heavily encourage people, if you don't have a strong historical identity in Christ and all things that is biblical, please listen to Stone Choir. And like Tix put in there's merchandise as well too. For offensively accurate, and all the Nav guys as well too. The Nav Windbreaker, I think, has been doing pretty well. The Groyper Report is on Saturday, 8 to 10 p.m., co-hosted with Josh Vandernoord. That has been doing fantastic. So thank you to all of those who are also subscribed to there as well. And looks like NAV should be getting monetized soon, so expect your ability to actually do super chats. We have some ideas of what to do with call-ins as well, and memberships and things like that. So a lot is coming. We're doing a lot of work. So in the words of Zeb Boykin, wait on it. It's coming. So thank you guys very much. Christ is King. Deport Kash Patel. Deport Ben Shapiro. Deport all of them for that matter. And ban Pam Bondi from public life. Hell, throw her in prison at this point. Whatever it takes to get the Epstein files. Whatever it takes to save this country. Lord have mercy on us. I appreciate you guys. Everybody have a good rest of your night. Have fun and be safe. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Get up and get out.
Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ is Lord.
Offensively